I'll start by introducing our panelists. So I'll begin with, we have Tanya Jajel. Tanya is a founder and CEO of ThinkDin. She's also an author of 2 books. One of them is being sold on Amazon yesterday. It's not published, but it's on Amazon yesterday. It's called Thinking Machines AI. So we'll ask you about that book, Tanya. And on top of that, she has a regional leadership role at VMware. And she's not stopping there. She's also an ultra endurance athlete, meaning that she runs for ultra marathons in the trails. And she has a demanding upcoming 69 kilometers, I don't know how, in Croatia. So we wish her all the best. So, Tanya, you can come here. Coming all the way from Saudi, just for this panel, Asil El Dawood. She's coming all the way from Saudi just for this panel. She has double masters. She has a PhD. So she's actually Dr. Asil. She has a PhD in informatics. She's an AI, artificial advisor, for one of the ministries in Saudi. And also, she's a horseback rider, and she's a mother of an amazing child. So Asil, can I have you here? Thank you for being here, Asil. We have also Ekterina. Most of you know Ekterina, but Ekterina is the senior sales director for TechCloud with years of growing sales teams, not just growing sales reps, growing sales teams. She's covering the entire region of Africa, entire Turkey. I'm not sure if I'm missing other countries, but on top of that, she's a mother of 3 kids, so she shows a lot by example. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Ekterina. And last but constantly not least, Cherian. So Cherian is, as you all know, Senior Vice President for Tech Software, TechCloud for the entire region of EMEA. But what you might not know about Cherian, he's a huge sponsor and advocate of OWL. Without him, most probably you wouldn't be able to do what we do. Definitely have Sajna and Sandra, huge sponsor of OWL. And I witnessed it myself, so thank you very much for everything you do, Cherian, and pleasure to have you here. So let's get the microphones. So, microphone, put it on. And me and you will share the microphone. Sure. So me and Tanya will. So I hope I didn't miss anything. There are definitely more to their stories, and this is just, I didn't cover everything, of course. So we'll start with Tanya. So Tanya, out of all the fields out there, all the topics that you can write about, and you picked a very unique, specific topic, which is AI. Why did you pick specifically AI, and what is the impact that you're expecting to get out of those books?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the phenomenal introduction as well, and thank you everyone for being here. So I've always been an existential thinker. From a young age, I was occupied with questions about how to live a meaningful life, whether there's alien life in the universe, where we came from, things like that. And for me, AI poses this particular issue because it forces us to think about our own intelligence, our own place in this universe, and most importantly, it forces us to consider what value we add to society, right? Because for the first time in the trajectory of human history, we have learned how to replicate our own intelligence, which is something we've never done before. So I always say to people, as AI progresses, and I've been saying this for 5 years, not just since GPT came out in 2022, although when GPT came out, I thought it was really the moment to start having these conversations. I've been saying this, like I said, for 5 years, that as AI progresses, we will be forced to ask questions about what we do in society. We'll be forced to consider what the future of work will look like. Now, we're on this hype train, and I know that there's a lot of confusing terminologies around the technology. So for me, my skill set and my niche is that I'm really good at taking complex ideas, I'm quite academic in my approach, and making them accessible to a general audience. That's where my strength is, that's what I get hired for, that's what people come to me for, you know? And so I decided to kind of make a living out of it and hopefully get other people involved in the conversation, including young leaders. I'm very passionate about that in particular, yeah.
So we'll ask you about the young leaders moving forward, but is there, if you say one thing you want to get out of what you're writing about, what would that be, the positive impact that you want to get out of it? What would it be?
If there's one thing that I want, I would like to enable people to think critically. So it's critical thinking about technologies like AI that have potentially a revolutionary impact, not just in the short term, but in the long term. Because generally, if we look at history, we tend to overestimate the value or the possibilities of a technology in the short term and underestimate it in the long term. So I really think that first principles thinking, the critical thinking is very important, and it's very important to not get caught in the hype and to think with intelligence, essentially. Yeah.
Thank you, Tanya. Speaking of critical thinking and the impact we're getting out of AI, we'll ask Asil. As Asil, again, I want to mention that coming all the way from Saudi just for this panel. So we'll ask you, Asil, a little bit about Saudi. And as you told me, me and you, we had a chat about the Vision 2030 and what's happening in Saudi and the involvement of women and inclusivity in that vision, and also the involvement of AI. So tell us a little bit more about AI and women involvement in that vision in Saudi.
Sure. I think it's on. Okay. So when we talk about the kingdom, as you said, coming all the way from there and attending GITEX this year, when we look at the Vision 2030, it was established by His Royal Highness in 2016. And then it was based on three main pillars. And these three main pillars was to have a vibrant society, thriving economy, and an ambition nation. And as we know, in the kingdom, there is more than 70% of the nation is actually under our youth. So focusing on that, on these generations, focusing on how we can empower them in different sectors. And actually, when looking at the Vision 2030, it's just the goals of a country where they are going forward, and everyone needs a goal to go forward for. It was looking into different domains, health, society, and part of it was technology. And because of that, to be able to achieve that and the goal of to have a data-driven economy, one of the new institutes that was established right now is SDAIA, which is the Saudi Authority for AI and Data, and only focusing on how to empower AI, how to empower data in all different sectors. And this is the beauty of AI, for me at least. My whole background was in IT tech department, and I mentioned that in our talk. In Saudi Arabia, it's different than other countries. So the number of women who actually go into IT departments are actually more than male. It's 51% against 49% for male going into IT. When we look into the US, for example, as a comparison, we can see there is a lower number of women actually entering STEM fields department. And then that's why we see a lot of non-profit organizations in the US to empower girls, like Girls Who Code, etc., and all of that, to empower girls to enter the STEM fields. In the kingdom, it's different. Actually, women entering any STEM field is higher than men, but the issue where when they finish their degree, it's harder for them to go into the market. We have very low numbers of women in tech entering the market. Usually they stay there, they work in different departments, different work, for example, business administration or jobs that are really different than tech. And the numbers are going higher these years after Vision 2030. So now it's more than 35% of women are actually entering the job market, and 22% of that percent is actually in tech domains or in STEM fields, which is the goal of Vision 2030 now, is to go into, to raise that percentage to be 50% instead of 20%, going from Vision 2030. So looking at all of this inclusivity, there is a really great push for including women and bridging the gap, not just in going into STEM fields, but also going into and participating in the market, especially in tech domains. So this is to include all of it.
So great to hear. So we're trying to move from 22% to 50% for women in the tech field. So that's a great point. So maybe Ekterina will help us on that. So if I ask you
50%?
part of the
Let me try.
22% if you're in Saudi. So Ekterina, you know, you've been in the tech field for more than a decade, and you've grown sales teams. And if I ask you, you've witnessed, you know, the movement or the development from the internet, moving to mobile, moving to cloud, moving now to AI. What recommendation would you give to, you know, the 22%, or she's talking about moving to that 50%? We want more women to be in that percentage. So what recommendation would you give for women to be involved, and why should they be involved?
So I feel like I'm from dinosaurs right now. Yeah, so many years in Oracle and Oracle technology. And thank you, by the way, to whole Oracle Women Leadership for bringing this interesting agenda, because we're in GITEX right now. And it's a great opportunity to meet all together at GITEX. And when we are looking at participation in GITEX, I think half of the booths have AI or machine learning wording. Yeah, it means that everyone is talking about AI. And when we are thinking about really how AI is helping women right now with careers, with what they want to achieve. Yeah, like Dr. Asil is saying, Tanya, I think AI is really helping today to reduce inequality. Because when we are talking about AI-powered platform, it's giving women and girls access to high-quality educational and training platform, regardless of their geographical location or social economical status. Yeah, because right now, good education became really achievable for everyone, because we can get access there from anywhere. For gaining financial and business independently, women in entrepreneurship, women in IT world. And of course, it's impressive how Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is paying special attention to elevate women and their knowledge and their participation. It's how women working with AI-driven healthcare platform, AI-driven financial platform can gain today more financial and economical independency.
So thank you, and I mean, to Ekterina's point here, you know, we can definitely, you know, involve ourselves more, and we need that. And maybe we'll hear from Cherian even more. And I wanted first to again thank Cherian, of course, to be part of this panel, and the biggest sponsor, at least the one that I witnessed the most of OWL. So Cherian, if I wanted to ask you, you know, you're a huge advocate of OWL, and you have wealth of knowledge and experience. So I'll ask you a specific question about AI. As you know, AI gets its data based on history. And history is based on human decisions. And it can be biased. What do you think that Oracle or maybe other companies are doing, should be doing, or might be doing to mitigate that risk, that biased risk, and to promote inclusivity?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Firstly, a big thank you to everybody who's attending here. A big thank you from OWL. I want to sincerely appreciate you taking time. I think Sandra mentioned that it's no longer an Oracle Women's Leadership. It has to be Oracle Women and Men Leadership. It's an equal forum for all of us to come and participate, and so happy that all the male members are here. In all, I think this is the most power panel we have ever had. Leo, Nick, Miguel, Susanna, Maria, everybody. So thank you very much from all the walks. As far as the history and data of AI consist, I think Rona spoke about ADA. I remember starting off my engineering career long back, but I at that time had an engineering project in Prolog, and I was supposed to develop something, and I still remember I failed in that subject because the project did not come out well, the data could not be pulled out, and the integrators did not work. And that was my first advent of data and analytics. And if you would have seen what's happening in the industry, and especially Oracle, and I think some of you were privy to what we presented on the DNI summit a few days back, seeing is believing. I repeat again, seeing is believing. We talk about all of this in big forums. We come out of and we walk out of these sessions with a lot of good inputs, but very difficult to actually transmit into reality because we don't have visibility and we don't have persistent data. What Oracle is trying to say, I'm not privy to what's happening in our competitive field or in our adjoining fields, but what Oracle is now, we are at the cusp of it, I would say, probably 3 months, a quarter away, and that's what our EVP Cormac showed in our DNI summit. Every leader will have an ability to traverse back a decade back, look at the data and say how many women promotions we actually did, how's the gender parity for our employees, how many, do we do only lip service, or we do really see that there is a parity problem in our pay scale? The good part of Oracle is that we never have a distinction for men or women as far as pay scales are concerned. They're all at the same levels. But as I say that seeing is believing and believing is doing, this is going to be a tool for every single manager, for them while they hire, while they retain, while they mentor, and how they promote. So when you have a dashboard in front of you and you watch it every day, it is not going into past books. The moment you open your system, you know it's through our HCM system. And I would say that many of our customers are HCM users. In the future, what will happen is this particular data, which is powered by AI, based on your old data, what you already have in your HR systems, it will get populated. That will become your eye, your insight, and that is AI powered. And that will help you to make right decisions. And I think I'm truly excited because otherwise all this time we were making ad hoc decisions. We were thinking we were on the right track, but it was not mathematically there. We didn't have the intelligence, we didn't have the what-ifs, the predictive analytics to say, sometimes we did so good. As Oracle, I know we've done a long mile, milestones are brilliant, but I say to keep accountability for ourselves as leaders. Are we only going on a stage and talking about it? No, we have to see it in actions. Are you doing it? And I think it's a brilliant platform, and I think we can hold all leaders in this aspect in a positive way.
So seeing is believing. And you know, that's great to hear from Thierry, and looking at the past, looking at the data for the past 10 years. So maybe we can look in the past and we look at even, you know, younger generations, and I'll ask Tanya here. Tanya, you know, Tanya is helping a lot of younger generations, younger talents, younger girls in schools, universities, in the academia, different diplomas. So if I ask you, Tanya, I mean, why are you doing that and why are you helping those young talents?
Great question. So I'm very passionate about education in general. I think that the world's biggest problems, you know, the root cause or the root solution to all of them lies in our educational programs and the paradigms by which we educate future generations. However, right now, in a lot of ways, I think that a lot of educational systems are actually not fit for purpose. And especially with the rise of emerging technologies like AI, we need to consider how and rethink what and how and when we're teaching students, right? So it's no longer enough for young people to go into classrooms and learn only math, science in silos, right? They now need to focus more on project-based learning, on multidisciplinary thinking. And when it comes to AI specifically, I mean, right now, I'm sure everyone's heard about this, but there's a huge concern amongst educators of students using tools like GPT for essay writing. And for me, you know, this is, it's a cause for concern because for me, at least as a writer and a researcher, Writing is a way of thinking through your data, thinking through your information, and it's a process through which you learn about yourself and your topic of choice. So it's a shame that that's happening, but at the same time, we have to accept that it's reality, right? That this is a technology that's here to stay, much like we had different tools that automated things, like the calculator was introduced, a few decades ago. So if we think about it, we now need to consider how do we educate or leverage AI and enable young minds to still think critically and to still find solutions. And ultimately, I'm an optimist, a cautious optimist, but pretty optimistic about technology. And I think that we'll only create what I call the wise cyborgs of the future, meaning it's not that we're going to outsource all of our decision making to AI models or all of our problem solving to AI models. Rather, we will combine our neocortex, our intelligence with these systems and learn how to make better, more data-driven decisions and find solutions that are really rooted in unbiased problems. Now, a lot of people talk about the bias in AIs, and I've been hearing this all over the conference. People are asking about hallucinations, et cetera, all very real problems, especially in generative AI and large language models. However, I like to remind everyone, long-term view, this is the worst that these models will ever be, right? What we need to really focus on is the data engineering aspect of it. And if we think about human beings are privy to tons, hundreds of cognitive biases, right? Now we have the opportunity to actually implement a scientific method of inquiry into the models that we use for decision making. And we need to make sure that future generations are involved in that process because they're the ones who will be using these models to find solutions to global grand challenges. That's how I see it.
So, understanding from you, how can we involve and include future generations in this? Maybe I'll get this from Asil. So thinking of how can we, Asil, you're a doctor, Asil, and you're an AI advisor for the government. What do you think, how can we involve more women in this AI revolution? What are some of the ways that we can involve more women in this AI revolution?
So involvement, in my point of view, is not just being out there and just talking about it. Is in my opinion, is taking action towards it. So also myself, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have four AI companies. One of them is actually a non-profit organization. I started it in my last year of my PhD. My focus was to help enrich the content of AI and technology in general and data in Arabic. So from there, this continued to be a non-profit organization. Most of our members are actually women. Most of the work that we do are like books, infographics, something to be shared all over. And now we are focusing on areas in the kingdom that are remote cities or countries, focusing on generations that are like younger generations or elderly, trying to focus on these niche, we can say, of the public that needs that kind of education. As mentioned, that education is one of the main things that we need to focus on to have more women engaged. And also, I'm not an advocate for equality. I'm an advocate of being a just AI, because when we think about having more women and generating and helping and thinking of building new systems or etc., we are not thinking about just being equal, but also having this an extra layer of being just to how we can evaluate the data, having just data, and looking into that, including more women, or how we can bring more women, is showing them that being included and building such not just new systems, or because I know I have been teaching in the university before, so I know a lot of girls when I like who likes programming, half of the class doesn't raise their hand, because most of them, even they have went to IT, they know it's a good domain. It has high ambitions. It will lead us. So this is the way of thinking that we have for girls in the kingdom. A lot will go into IT, but then they will know that this is not the thing that they want. But then what I always tell them that it's good that you have the background, but now if you have another ambition that you want to follow, you can link it directly to the domain. So the beauty of AI that it can be linked to many domains. And I really am an advocate for going to different domains, like even the things that women like fashion, like cooking, like sports, any kind of domain, and then saying, you know, let's together explore what AI can do with this domain. Let's together explore. You are interested in your own thing. You have an ambition. You have a thing that you want to do there. But let's explore how we can combine it. And what I'm trying to do also is to push to have more women entrepreneurs, especially that we don't have a lot of women in tech entrepreneurs in the kingdom. So pushing also towards that also will help more women joining the wagon of how we can utilize technology in this domain, how we can utilize AI and all of these new techniques, especially as we have seen everywhere now is talking about AI. So it's very easy to bring them, but it's really hard. The hardest part is education and showing them how easy it is, and here are the tools, here are the ways that you can do it. Just it needs a bit of changing the minds and setting new mindset. And I think with ChatGPT, everyone has changed their minds. And everyone now is like, how can I use AI in different things? So just shifting the mindset to utilizing it in your passion, in your domain, and they are set to go.
So speaking of change, I was about to ask Ekterina something, but I will go to Cherian because you're talking about change. And we have Cherian, who's been involved in a lot of changes, helping OWL change, helping Oracle and other organizations change. So if I ask you, Cherian, what are the organizations, whether it's Oracle and the lookalikes of Oracle, are doing collaboratively, maybe together, to provide and present a positive outcome out of AI?
Personally, I feel for Oracle, the biggest change coming around the corner is from the health sector. And you know very well, I think Nidhi is here from Cerner. So I think that acquisition for me is path-breaking. For all the women in the room, you know, this month is breast cancer awareness. And I was just reading the data of breast cancer. 2.38 million people globally in 2021 was diagnosed with breast cancer in October every year, also for a year, and 638,000 of them die every year. This statistics is mind-boggling. But have you actually gone back and taken the data and said, make sense out of it? Why is it that women were not dying of breast cancer 15 years back, and why these ratios were so low? And today you see there must have been something. It cannot be genetic alone. There is something to do with food. There is something to do with what you are intaking. It's the quality of life and something what we are doing wrong. No data to provide that. Imagine going into a doctor's place, same statistics for heart diseases as well. So many of them, I would say, you catch any IT professional, by 50, half of the world is on some kind of blood pressure or some other problems. The world has not truly diagnosed this in the true way. Hundreds of data with all the hospitals, but no trends to positive. The doctor diagnosis is based on his past intelligence, his own gut feel. Imagine the exponential change which is going to come in the medical field. I think that is going to be the game changer moment. I think Larry spoke about it, saying the healthcare record, but it's not about record. It is about how doctors are going to change the whole medical impression. I think there's a very interesting book called as 100 Years of Life. Typically, earlier time, you would say that a person would live for 70 to 80 years. If AI generates well, the generative power of AI comes true, I can tell you everybody in this room for the next 40 years, we will be doing OWL conferences. Because you will lead through AI, it will give you the ability to diagnose, take right medication, and it will tell you why is it middle-aged men, middle-aged women, what is the trend, what food you eat. The doctor immediately says, oh, you're an alcoholic, you are a smoker, no data to correlate. The ability to correlate this data and give you future-looking aspects will give you the 100 years of life. Very interesting book, it is called 100 Years of Life. So don't retire soon, be working. And I think that's the power of AI. And I'm sure as all IT companies, we will be in this generative journey together.
I mean, thank you, Cherian. And maybe we get a promo code for that book from you, Nidhi? Yeah. Okay, so speaking of risks, and maybe we'll ask you, Ekterina, about some of the risks. So there was an article recently published by the Washington Post, and it says that the STEM field is growing, which is great, but also on the other hand, AI is negatively impacting women's jobs. So what recommendation would you give for young women or women in general to kind of tackle that challenge, and what are the risks you see there?
I think Washington Post research is really very related to what Tanya, Dr. Asil, and Cherian is saying. Historically, women was very much engaged in, let's say, some monotonical, not interesting job. Yeah, it was call center, it was some marketing research. Of course, AI may be eliminating this job, and we are giving all this capability to chatbot and AI and machine learning. It's a great opportunity for women and girls to elevate their knowledge, yeah, to go to the new level of knowledge. Participating in healthcare conference, doing analysis, really how, I don't know, work pressure in Oracle is influencing our ability to live for another 100. No, let's me look at Fahad, because there is no pressure in Saudi. Kingdom of Saudi. So all this analysis, really, it's helping women to start thinking differently and elevate the way they are working. Yeah, because right now we know that really many women, as you mentioned, don't raise your hands to do something bigger, more interesting, because of course it was bias that women maybe need to spend more time with family. That is important, by the way, and I really think it's another aspect of AI, because when we are giving all this analysis to AI machine learning, it's giving us opportunities, human, not only for women, but also to men, to be back to be human being and maybe spend more time talking to each other than just looking at numbers, which we very often have trend to. Yeah, so it's great opportunity to elevate our discussion and elevate jobs and elevate opportunity for women and girls.
So to respond to that, maybe, Ekterina, I wanted to ask you something again about you and what you do. I mean, you're a senior sales director and you manage multiple regions. You have 3 kids also. And how are you able to do this and that? And what's your recommendation for some other people maybe looking up to you?
You mean recommendation for our men leadership or overall? No, it's a joke. No, I think it's important for very woman and girl to do in life what she likes to do. If it's to be AI advisor for government of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, it's great. If really women want to focus on sales in Africa, it's what she need to do. I think it's important for everyone, yeah, to do what is bringing joy and satisfaction and new knowledge. Yeah, and it's helping, I think, all of us to drive this balance between work and life. I know, by the way, some other leaders who have 3 and more kids and still driving successful career. Yeah, I see Zinab, it's yeah, of course, Susan, it's many. Yeah, because I think we can ask maybe some other lady how they're managing to do it, but what I think, it's important to do what you like to do and what bringing you satisfaction, joy, and yeah, happiness in life.
Yeah, great to hear that from you, Ekterina. I mean, do whichever you feel that makes you satisfied and comfortable. Okay, so I think we have around 6 minutes, so we'll do some light-hearted, fun questions to get to kind of know them a little bit more. So maybe we'll ask Cherian. Cherian, if I ask you, if you were ChatGPT, you're not Cherian now, you're ChatGPT, and you kind of get to summarize what everyone said, what would you say in few words?
You put me in a spot. Oh, maybe read more. Be more educated about the whole thing, and that's the word I would use.
Read more, and thank you for that. I'll ask Ekterina. Ekterina, in few words, what recommendation would you give to young girls? What would that recommendation be in just few words?
I don't want to repeat all our panels, but of course education.
Education?
Study more, really make your horizon bigger about people behavior, because in today's world, it's so easy to engage with people with different experience, different culture. Sorry. So it's so easy in today's world. Yeah, and it's, of course, AI is helping in that, to be engaged with people with different experience, different background, and different inspiration. So I think, of course, it's education, it's reading, but also to not forget about human interaction. Yeah, learn from people, not only from books.
Thank you, Ekterina, for that. So education, reading, from what we're hearing here. If I ask you, Asil, if you go back to maybe school, primary school, and you can pick one course, and you have the option to pick whether a course from today, a course from the past, what would that course be?
I think it will be coding.
Coding.
Yes, I
Why?
realized. So when I came to, when I started my bachelor degree in IT, I didn't know what is IT. I didn't know anything about technology, and it was a deal breaker that either you're gonna like coding or not. So I loved it. I loved logic. I loved thinking logically and implementing that in coding. So looking back to that, I think if I had that experience in an early age, I think I would be more involved in creating and innovating with that technology. So I think that would be my choice.
Okay. Coding and innovating in that technology. I'll ask Tanya and then Cherian one more, kind of to give few last words from Cherian after. So I'll ask you, Tanya, if you have the option to have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would that person be and why?
Wow. It's just, there's so many people. I'm going to choose Ada Lovelace, and that's because I was actually just, it's not because she's up there, it's because I was just reading her biography by Walter Isaacson. He wrote a book called The Innovators, and he highlighted her biography. But what's interesting about her is that she was ideating about computer intelligence way back before we even had the capacity to transistors, right? So we didn't even have the capacity to build these kind of systems. And she was also an artist. So her father was actually Lord Byron, the very famous poet. And her mother was a mathematician. So between, her parents encouraged her to think both scientifically and with an artistic sense, and that's really how and why she became so phenomenal. And just like her, I think, if we take some other examples, people like Steve Jobs as well encapsulate that kind of art and science mastery really well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tanya. And Asil, do you have a person that you would want to pick, dead or alive, that you would want? Just say the name of the person only, because I think we need to close.
I think, as any Saudi ambition, we all the country wants to meet his Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
Okay, his crown.
For
prince.
now, yeah.
All right.
You want to have a lunch with him.
Yeah. And maybe we wanted to say thank you all very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be part of this panel. And thank you very much.